There have been times where I asked God for direction, received instruction, obeyed it, and then wondered, now what? Because I knew in my heart that that was not the outcome that I was expecting. I knew there had to be more. And when I first started hearing God, I used to think that when He answered me, I would get the answer, the outcome, and be done with it, right? But what I learned is that hearing God is about staying in a posture of listening. So I was reading John chapter 2, verse 1 through 12, and I want you to go there with me. Now, I won't read it, but I do want you to read it along and see what God has to say to you, okay? So this is where Jesus performs his first miracle by turning water into wine. And what most people focus on is that miracle. I did too, but I want us to focus on the servants. So when I was reading it, what really caught my attention was what Mary said. So before Jesus ever gave an instruction, Mary said something powerful in verse 5. She said, whatever he says to do, do it. So that one statement right there taught me so much about hearing God, that hearing his voice wasn't just about receiving instruction, it's about responding in obedience. So in John 2, verses 1 through 12, make sure you're reading for yourself, because I don't want you to hear scripture and not go back and check it and make sure what they're saying is accurate. Okay, so Jesus first told his servants to fill the water jars with water. They obeyed, and then he said, now draw some out. They obeyed again. Then he told them to take it to the master of the banquet. Once again, they obeyed. So notice that Jesus didn't just give them every instruction at once. He gave them one instruction, they responded, and then he continued to lead them. Sometimes we're asking God to give us all the steps at one time, or to just simply skip over the steps and give us the outcome, right? But he's asking us to be faithful with one step. So one thing that I've learned is that God often gives us enough direction for the next step, and he's waiting to see if we're going to take it. So as we continue to walk with him, he continues to guide us. And that's why hearing God is not just a one-time event, it's a relationship. And I can't stress how important it is to have a relationship with Jesus. We have to stay close enough to hear him again and every single time that he speaks. So the servants didn't know why they were filling the water jars. It just didn't make sense. And I can agree with them, because some things that Jesus tells me to do, it doesn't make sense until I get done, and then I can look back and see why he had me to do what he had me to do, right? And even though it didn't make sense, just as the servants trusted Jesus, we're going to trust him too, because he's the one giving the instruction and he knows the outcome. He can see the end when we can't. So maybe that's where you are today. You heard God through his word, or you sensed him leading you to forgive that person, to wait on an answer, to serve at church, or to take a step of faith, but you're waiting on him to show you the whole picture. I'm sorry to tell you, but faith doesn't work that way. Faith doesn't always come with all the details. Sometimes God is simply asking you to take the next step. So let me leave you with this one question. Have you stopped listening because you obeyed the first instruction, or are you still close enough to hear the next one? Remember, Mary's words are still true today. Whatever he says to you, do it. So as you continue to hear his voice and faithfully obey, you'll find that God is able to guide you through every step of the process. So stay close.